Dear friends, this week we start reading the book of Vayikra, Leviticus, with the portion of Vayikra, and the Torah starts telling us all about different types of sacrifices. One of the interesting things we find in sacrifices is that not always does everyone bring the exact same sacrifice. Sometimes it depends on your ability to afford. And if you can afford an animal, which is much more expensive, you bring an animal. If not, you can bring birds. And even if that's too expensive, you can bring flour, which everyone ultimately was able to afford or borrow money to be able to bring some form of a flour offering. What do we see from this? What is the idea that the Torah allows different types of offering for sacrifice to bring to God? And here we have a very important lesson. And that is that there's no question that in Judaism, quality is the most important thing. When God asks for us to do something for Him, what God wants is that we should give it our full heart and soul. That whatever we do, we should do it fully and completely. We should be fully inside of it, not just to do an obligation and a duty, just to say we did it, but actually to be involved, to be interested, our mind, our heart, emotionally, passionate. We should really be there in whatever we're doing. And quality, we know, always stands out as something very important. And very often we find that God says quality overrides quantity. And as long as you have a bit of quality, it's much more powerful than quantity of how much you do, because if you do it just by rote, it's not nearly as valuable as when you're passionate and it's really important to you. But at the same time, here we find another lesson, that sometimes quality is measured by quantity as well. When a person can afford to bring a sacrifice, an animal, and they bring flour, that means that really the quality is not there either. Even if they tell you, I feel for it and it's important to me, but if they cannot dig into their pocket to pay according to their means and what they're able to afford, that means that what they're giving you is lip service. There's no real quality. And sometimes this is the test for ourselves. Because sometimes we can really believe, I really mean it, it's important to me. But if you're not ready to put in the effort, the time, to pay the money for this, what you're doing, then that means that you don't really believe in it, that you don't really feel for it in the true sense of what it is. And that's where the Torah makes specific sacrifices, differences, to hone in the message for every one of us. How do we test if we really are there and we really are doing it for the right reason? If your quantity meets up to your means. And the Torah gives allowance. If your quantity could only be less, your means are less, that's fine. Because quality is important. But if you could do more, if you have more time to study Torah, you have more time to help other people, to do a mitzvah, and you don't tell us that your quality is there, because that means that it's not really permeated you. The same thing is with money, and the same thing is with every other aspect of our Judaism. And that is what's so important, what we have to have in our lives. Quality is the key thing. It's the fundamental part of our Jewish experience. It has to be permeated through every part of ourselves. But measure yourself by what kind of quantity you're ready to part with in time, in money, in effort, in sacrifice. That's the true test of how much you're into it. May God bless you all to be able to not only give your quality, but to give your quantity as well, to be fully into every part of our Jewish observances and our Jewish living and values. And may God make it easy for us to be able to do it and give us plenty of quantity, that we could give the charity that we want, that we could put in the time and effort to study Torah and to do mitzvahs and to do things in the best way possible. May God bless you all. I want to wish you a Shabbat Shalom, especially this week. We take out 2 Torahs. We read about the obliteration of Amalek, the hatred that exists even until today of people who want to destroy the Jewish people. Be in synagogue to hear it. Candlelighting time in Montreal this week is 6:42 p.m.